Thank you very much for joining us on the Old New podcast. And I mean, my view is different now. I'm in a library situation, but it's fine. Um,
Mhm.
I'm always
Okay.
speaking to old boys, right? And I think we've had this conversation before we got onto this podcast. We spoke on the phone, and I did say it's interesting to me to speak to somebody who sees the school from a different set of eyes, right? Because when you in the situation or in the school, you've got a love for it and you've got
Yeah.
an affinity, you've got a duty to like it there, you know. So the answers will not necessarily be as accurate. There will be embellishments here and there. But before we get into the actual school, you did something quite interesting. You obtained your doctorate, and the methods used to obtain the doctorate was something that was fascinating to me. So, can you please talk us through your whole academic journey?
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that intro. I do agree. To have a objective perspective
Yeah.
of Muir College um is important. So I was born and bred in PE, Gqeberha. I did my bachelor's, honors, and master's degrees, yeah, in education at NMU.
Hmm.
And after that, I decided to do my PhD in education, my doctorate. So I then enrolled and was accepted by University of Free State in 2017, August of 2017. All right.
Yeah.
So us, we all got together at Bloemfontein campus.
Hmm.
We basically outlined the what we refer to as your chapter one in your thesis. Basically, your research methodology, your uh, different aspects that's detailed how you are going to conduct your research. So we got together there and we outlined. I had a computer then, I must add. So I did the outline of the first chapter, not the whole first chapter,
Okay.
but the outline. So I took that away from Bloemfontein, and then the journey of 5 years and 7 months started
Mm.
to obtain my PhD. And after that, you know, life happened, and obviously tough times incurred.
Yeah.
So, basically not being able to afford a laptop,
Mm.
for example, so I was reliant on a cell phone only, um, and not having the necessary funds to go and sit at a an internet cafe
Mm.
to really, you can't do that. It's not conducive to research. So I decided to use my phone, and a phone is very powerful. Phones are very powerful these days. In terms of the apps, the Microsoft Word, all the different PowerPoints, the design tools, the PDFs, you name it, it's there.
Mm.
So I worked very closely with my supervisor from University of Free State, Prof. Jacobs, and she guided me, obviously, as my supervisor, but I did my research in victimization in secondary schools to create the information base for the formation of a anti-victimization policy for the Department of Basic Education. I got a scholarship for 5 years, luckily. And then, you know, if you want to search for a certain article, you go onto Google Scholar and you download the article and you work from there. Those days AI weren't really in play,
Yeah, yeah.
or developed even.
Mm.
So I wasn't even reliant on that. And I'm very old school in that way. I've written down if certain aspects, or most of the aspects I wrote down, and I read a lot because you read for your degree is very very true. So basically the message is that you can, with limited resources,
Mm-hmm.
and in South Africa, we've got a lot of students that are faced with that reality, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Use a cell phone. I had an Oppo A15.
Mm.
So it wasn't even top of the range, it was a basic cell phone, but it did the job
It worked.
for me. It worked, and I took a bit longer because one can do your PhD in 4 years, but I developed my own theory. So that took a bit longer to get approved. And we had a couple of hiccups, which was, clarified and eliminated. And I got my results back in February of 23 and graduated the 7th of December 2023. Yeah.
Nice.
So a cell phone is imperative, and it's basically a mini laptop
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
with
So
all the powerful tools.
yeah, but like it's interesting with what you're saying, and I think it's very relevant to the kids that are in school right now. South African schools face lack of resources, and I think to apply that type of mindset could really stand a lot of students in good stead instead of complaining about not having stuff. Find ways. I mean, these kids are on cell phones every day, all the time. So
Yes,
I think
yes, yes.
it's very inspirational
Mm.
what you said. I think a lot of people can take heed of you persevering through the difficulties, but using the resources that you had at hand to make sure that you completed the task that you had set out for yourself. So, congratulations on that. So, I think that's a very powerful
Thank you
story.
very much. You actually you elucidated a very important point. It takes
Yeah.
perseverance and a bit of innovation. Um, so if you combine those two elements, you know, unfortunately, the TikToks and the Instagrams and those apps have taken over, and students tend to spend a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
But instead of doing that, I can use it for the better, to better the academic outcome.
Mm.
and success in life. And
Nice.
that's their future.
Yeah. So you did your PhD and you spent some time at Muir College. So I want to get some impressions from you as somebody who came in to do as a part of your research. Um, so what was your first impression when you walked into the school?
Okay, I'm going to take you back to answer that question.
Okay.
I finished my honors, and then I started teaching at a very small school, and
Mm.
then I applied for a position at Muir College, which was geography and social science. Um, Mr. Ban Hopley was still the
Headmaster.
principal then.
Mm.
Yeah, the headmaster. Yeah. So it's it was basically my first exposure to an effective school,
Mm.
coming from a non-effective school of under 100 students or learners to a full-on school that's operational, functional, it's got its own copy facilities, SO Sam's lady, hostel classrooms with cameras in, uh, highly qualified educators. It was a real jaw-dropping experience when I saw that. And I mean, I'm an introvert, so I just get to myself, and I was like gobsmacked by the fact that this is really an effective functioning school. And in my honors degree, we we studied ineffective versus effective school. So that was like mere in 2014, I remember.
Yeah.
I was there for 2 terms, and it was just an eye-opener of note. It was such a lovely school, dedicated, passionate educators, which is a cornerstone of teaching and learning. I think that stood out besides the amenities, the outstanding amenities, the passionate educators was just amazing, of a very high standard, and also the behavior aspect of the students was very good.
Nice.
And I just want to add something
Mm.
that year. There was a few of the top uh, Eastern Cape achieving students. So it just goes to show that, that with a quality workforce or educators,
Mm.
that effective teaching and learning outcomes are reached
Yeah.
and were reached at Muir College.
Mm, mm, mm. So with you coming in and being on the other side, um, the students and sort of the whole entire ethos and the culture that the school has cultivated for over 200 years, I think its foundation is discipline, right? And there's a very strong emphasis on that, especially in boys' schools. How do you
Mm.
think that
Yeah.
helps students? Because I mean, school is a foundational phase of an adult's life. So, how important do you think things like discipline are to students becoming successful later on in their lives?
It's paramount. Discipline. Can't remember the vice, the deputy
Mr.
principals,
Francis.
Mr.
Mr. Francis. David Francis.
Mr. Francis, that's
Yes.
right. Yes, yes. He was the science teacher, if I'm not mistaken, if memory serves. Um, but to answer your question, it's paramount to your academic success in life and in going forward. And if you want to make something of your life, and if you want to achieve certain goals, and Mr. Francis was instrumental in maintaining impeccable discipline in Muir College. But there's a flip side. It takes two to tango, as they say.
Yeah.
The students also, I think Mr. Francis' job was made easy by reciprocal student behavior of respect towards their elders, their teachers, and the mentors
Yeah. Yeah.
in the school,
Mm.
in Muir College. And that's a testimony to an effective school. If you've got that discipline in place, that's one of the cornerstones of an effective school.
Yeah. So schools like Muir College are very traditional, and I think some of the things that keep the tradition alive in these schools is the fact that they practice things year on year. So I want to know from you, have you ever experienced a Muir College reunion at your time there?
Yes, I did. I did
So yes.
once.
So
Yes.
so how was the reunion for you when you attended?
It was it was a great experience. I mean, the the caliber of individuals that's attended is a testimony to the school. And again, it was an eye opener from an outside perspective
Mm,
to see that how can I phrase this? The proudness that the old
mm,
Murites have got in their school, and what pride they have, and they take in being associated post their studies
yes.
with Muir. It was very, very special
Yeah.
to see that. And to me, again, an eye opener.
Mm,
It's basically also what I want to add is that the exposure to Muir College laid the foundation for me. Remember, it was my first exposure to an effective functioning school.
mm,
So that laid the foundation for my future academic endeavors.
mm, mm,
So going forward, I decided, hang on, if this our school um, is maintained and run, and in terms of discipline, etc., everything that we mentioned, and so much more, then it's absolutely worthwhile progressing to the highest level that you can reach in education.
mm, mm,
So, what I'm actually saying to you is that Muir College, the exposure to Muir College in the 2 terms that I was there, laid the fundamental foundation for reaching my academic goals in life.
Nice. So very quickly, we've got about 10 minutes with your research that you have done, right? And we did touch on it. You spoke about um, victimization. What sort of victimization are we speaking about? Is it a victimization at school levels? Because it actually links to a question that I always have for our boys, and that's the idea of masculinity, right? When we were in school,
Mhm.
there's when you're at a boys' school, there will be a bit of rough play and roughness,
Yeah.
but also there is also an element of, if somebody is different, of victimization, that because kids don't understand. They know what they know, and if you are dressed in pink, then we don't know that, we don't recognize that, so we'll act a certain way, right? And I, I want to
Mhm.
ask this
Yeah.
from you, since you've done extensive research on it. What do you feel about masculinity in today's age as compared to maybe the boys of the past when you were in school, maybe?
Okay. That's a good, very good question, by the way.
Yeah.
The In the olden days,
Yeah.
uh, it was the masculinity was used to to really empower men and or boys and their behavior.
Mm,
So that led to victimization, be it verbal, physical. Basically, those two are the most important ones
mm,
in terms of masculinity. Um, so, post as we progressed, so
mm.
we had victimization in schools,
Yes.
and different schools handle that victimization differently, and to the detriment of some learners and to the non-detriment. So in effective schools where the discipline was very effectively handled, like Muir, as opposed to another school, that's a different scenario for the victim,
Yes.
because the victim are protected of in an effective school versus an ineffective school. The victim are really traumatized, bullied, and
They get
so that's a
re-victimized.
one side. Yeah, so that's a one side. The other side is, as we progressed in since 2014 till today, victimization, masculinity has diminished actually.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the masculinity aspect, because of the fact that women has become more empowered.
Mm,
So victimization traditionally was very uh, male dominated,
mm,
past tense, but present tense, it's rampant all over, and a gender doesn't actually apply,
mm-hmm.
male or female. The masculinity um, is present in the male and the female, even though the female are totally female.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, verbal abuse and victimization and bullying is actually a very, very a big problem in South African schools at the moment. And that's between student and student, and that's peer to peer
Mm-hmm.
and cross peer, where this the learners victimize or bully the teachers
Oh,
verbally. They won't touch them because that saying the tongue is mightier than the sword
oh, yes, yes, yes.
is very, very true, because emotionally the victim gets hurt
Yeah,
more than, rather hit me with a stick
yeah.
than emotionally abuse me verbally, because that sticks.
So
And
now,
yeah,
so now, it's interesting. It's an interesting prospect because I would imagine that if an educator feels threatened, they won't be effective in doing their job. And that
exactly.
will then in turn affect the rest of the class and how they would be delivering the lesson. So yeah, I see.
Yeah, that's you are touching on a very, very important aspect. Um, the ramifications of this abuse
Mm,
just is it's tragic
yeah.
to the whole system,
Mm,
to everyone involved, for the teachers that cannot function. They physically get burnt out,
mm,
and they get negative, and they get depressed, and they get physically ill, and they exit the education system due to victimization and abuse. And coupled with that, you've got the poor students that are being abused, and which affects the morale of the class.
mhm,
And ultimately, you've got a lower uh, standard of uh, teaching and learning outcomes,
mm,
which results in a lower quality of product.
yeah.
If when I refer to product, I'm talking about lists, people that are leaving grade 12 and entering our marketplace due to victimization plays a big role in the final product
Mhm.
that goes into our economy, and that has to contribute to our GDP.
So it infiltrates the whole system. So I wish we had more time to just dive into this because I find that um, as a parent myself, I find that very important to have these conversations as adults because
Mm-hmm.
these things are going to affect our kids in the coming years. And if we don't do something about it and talk about it and educate other people about these types of things, I think we would be left in a very bad place. So I thank you very much for
Indeed.
speaking to us. But before we go, I would be amiss to not ask you. The school has been in existence for over 200 years. From what you've seen in your short stay at your college, what do you wish stays and continues to be practiced at the school?
To me, it's a whole school approach. In other words, the Muir College that I um, partook in
Hmm.
when I was there, that standard, it's imperative that that standard um, is being upheld even today still. So, that's really what I want to see, and I'm sure it is
Yeah.
still so, because I've met quite recently students from your college, uh, uh, fantastic uh, products of your college
Mm.
in terms of personality and drive and want to be able to reach something and make something of their lives in the future. It's a very competitive market out there in South Africa currently. So, yeah, Muir College to me is example of exemplary is actually the word of a school that we are fortunate to have in the Nelson Mandela Metro.
Nice. Thank you so very much for this conversation. As I said, I wish we had more time so that we can sort of delve deeper into some of the issues and some of the things that you've discovered in your research. But for the purposes of this episode, that is it. Thank you very much for allowing us and giving us your time so that we can speak to you.
It's only a pleasure. And if anyone wants to contact me and discuss anything further, they're welcome to do so.
Okay.
You have got my contact details.
All right. No problem. So thank you very much.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.